We've started a brand new career mode with Tottenham Hotspur with the simple goal of getting Spurs back to the top table of European football. We've lost our best player and we're going to need to improve the team, but with no European football it's going to be incredibly difficult to attract the best players. But with your help and £88 million still left to spend, things are about to get very interesting this episode at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. But as ever, if you are enjoying this series so far, please feel free to like and subscribe, and let's get into today's episode. So the burning question I put to you during the very first episode was, what should I do with this £88 million budget, and who should replace Harry Kane? And while some of you wanted me to keep faith in Richarlison, the overwhelming majority of you wanted me to spend big and bring in a replacement striker. Now, there have been plenty of suggestions flooding in, so thank you so much for those, and I've added each of them to my shortlist, and I plan to scout every single one of them. However, there was one very interesting suggestion that came up, and that was to sign Ivan Toney and perhaps even a new long-term goalkeeper. Now, to be fair, after the performances of Vicario in episode 1, I'm actually pretty happy with him between the sticks, and at 26 years of age, he's got his best years ahead of him, so I'm reluctant to bring in someone to replace him right now. However, Ivan Toney up front is a very interesting suggestion. He's a man who's been linked with Spurs over the last few years and would represent a very realistic signing for the club. However, as you can see, I am looking at him on FIFA 23 because the problem is, when I search for him on EA FC 24, absolutely nothing comes up. I can only assume it's because he's currently serving his ban, and that means he won't be available until the new year. So unfortunately for you, Ivan Toney, until then, there is no chance of you becoming a Tottenham Hotspur football player. However, from some of the other comments, there was a general consensus that two key names came to the fore, and those were Vlahovic of Juventus and Lautaro Martinez of Inter Milan. Two players who, similarly to Ivan Toney, have been regularly linked with Tottenham for the last few years. Now, Vlahovic is someone who I think could be a really interesting signing. He's 6'3", so he offers us something in attack that we just don't have, and that is height in the box. Plus, for such a big player, he's got great acceleration, sprint speed, and also fantastic technical attributes as well. Add to that he's just 23 years of age and already 84 rated. He could be a key signing in this new Tottenham revolution. However, an 87 rated World Cup winning Lautaro Martinez brings European experience, and with him being 25 years of age, he is about ready to enter his prime footballing years. He's got incredibly high attacking work rate, he's got 4-star skill moves and weak foot, and he's got all-round fantastic physical, mental and technical attributes. However, the biggest problem with him is, whilst he would be the ideal signing, as we've only got £88 million to spend, and with Inter Milan wanting almost £140 million for him, it looks like we're going to be priced out of a deal for the Argentinian sensation. And so with that in mind, and after a tough round of negotiation with the man in charge at Juventus, we are able to welcome the 6'3" Serbian international, a man who has racked up over 60 appearances and almost 30 goals for Juventus, and another player who is desperate to ply his trade in the Premier League, more specifically for Tottenham Hotspur. And despite the fact he hasn't exactly endeared himself to the home fans by turning up to his welcome party in the wrong kit, we will be saying hello to Dusan Vlahovic for £63.9 million. The board are keen for me to bring the best players in the world to Tottenham Hotspur, and with a towering 84 rated 23-year-old striker who has that something special, I am more than meeting that objective. And with him going straight into the starting 11 to replace Richarlison, it means I've got to find a solution for the 19-year-old Veliz, who, whilst he is showing great potential, with two better strikers ahead of him in the pecking order, is unlikely to feature much this season. So with that in mind, I have decided to stick him on the loan list, which is something that he seems pretty happy with. Now, on top of the suggestions for the likes of Ivan Toney, Lautaro Martinez and Vlahovic, you've also been flooding in with even more suggestions as to other players in other areas of the team that I could potentially buy. For example, if I'm looking for a centre-back, then I should take a look at Mikalenkovic from Fiorentina or Gonzalo Inacio from Sporting Lisbon. Perhaps I could look to sign someone like Lloyd Kelly from Bournemouth, whom we were heavily linked with, or maybe some wingers that could suit the playing style of Ange Postecoglou like a glove. For example, Nico Williams from Bilbao, Cubo from Sociedad, or maybe Mitsoma from Brighton. However, as you can see, whilst they all are brilliant suggestions, that big signing of Vlahovic has only left me with £17 million to spend, and I'm not really sure what I'm really going to get for that money. So what I think I'll do is, with plenty of games to play before we move into the January transfer window, and with a starting 11 that's looking in pretty decent shape, I think I'll assess the squad over the course of the next 6 months to see who is going to be playing best in all these different positions, and depending on how well the team get on, I will look to try and see if I can take up some of your suggestions and maybe add 1 or 2 more players to the Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. But now, with us being usurped at the top of the Premier League table by Manchester City and Luton Town of all teams, it is time for Dusan Vlahovic to make his debut in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt as we head over to the Vitality Stadium for a big Premier League clash against Bournemouth. Pedro Porro into Basuma in the centre of the park, trying to skip away from a challenge, does a really good job and finds Udogie on the left-hand side. He doesn't really have anywhere to go here. We're being pressed hard here by Bournemouth in their own half, but Pedro Porro's got space to whip a ball in. He was looking for the head of Vlahovic. Vlahovic on the volley with his first chance in a Spurs shirt. Goes straight against the defender though. Driussi for Bournemouth into Solanke. Brooks does a really nice job of skipping away from the challenge of Mickey van der Ven. He's being tracked back here though by Udogie, but can't get the ball. Max Aarons though to try and whip it across. Good ball, but easy in the end for Vicario. Kenny, nice ball out to Vaz on the left hand side. No one picking him up as Pedro Porro was too deep and then gets caught out. Traore on the left hand side to feed it across, and it's a big save yet again from Vicario. Brooks to take the resulting corner. It's gone short into Traore. Tries to go past Maddison. He does go past Maddison with ease. Continues his run into the box. It's Brooks again though, into Zabrani, and it's cleared away fortunately by the Spurs defenders. Vicario under a bit of pressure here. He's got two Bournemouth players and he's given the ball away really cheaply. Oh, it's a disaster. It's a complete and utter disaster from Guillermo Vicario. Well, what on earth was he doing? He's had such a good start to life in a Tottenham shirt and he just got it all wrong. Trying to play out from the back. And he was pressed by the Bournemouth players and he didn't have the wherewithal to just boot the ball clear, and he is made to pay. It's an easy goal for Bournemouth in the end. It's 1-0. Porro into Bentancur. Bentancur's going to fire a wicked ball over to Heung-min Son on the left-hand side, and he heads it beautifully down to Udogie, and he's got the pace to drive down this left-hand side. Going to try and play a ball in. Was looking for Vlahovic. Looked for Kulusevski instead. Headed down by Bentancur, and Vlahovic off the post, and the keeper heads it away. Acrobatically, very strange clearance, and Bournemouth are let off the hook there. Heung-min Son into James Maddison. Maddison looking for a ball into Vlahovic, into Kulusevski. He's just straight offside. Heung-min Son to burst forward as we're going to try and strike a counter-attack on Bournemouth here, and there's no one putting in a challenge, but he doesn't really have too many options. Instead, he looks out wide to Udogie on the left-hand side. He's going to try and fire it in looking for Kulusevski. Couldn't find him. Maddison will head it down. Can we get to the loose ball? Heung-min Son does. It's back out to Pedro Porro. He fires it across, looking to get to Vlahovic at the back post. Can't get there, and Bentancur can't quite win the header. Maddison takes it down again. It's all Spurs inside the opening 10 minutes. And it's given away cheaply there by Basuma. Driussi for Bournemouth. No one putting in a challenge, and it's Solanke now into Brooks. Nice play. Oh, well done. Out to an unmarked, Max Aarons on the right-hand side. Into Brooks again. This is well worked by Bournemouth. And Romero is there in the right place at the right time and is almost taken out by one of the Bournemouth strikers. Maddison skips away from the challenge of the Bournemouth midfielders and lays a wonderful ball into the path of Pedro Porro, and he's got space on the right-hand side to drive into. He finds Kulusevski, lovely flick back to Bentancur, and he forces the goalkeeper into a big save. It's dinked back across and headed away by the Bournemouth defence. Well, it's been an unlucky day for Vlahovic. He just hasn't managed to find the target. He hit the post and he had another couple of great chances, but Richarlison will come on in his place. Solanke tries to go past the substitute Ryan Sessegnon, does a great job of doing so. He finds Vaz, an unmarked Vaz, brilliantly laid down, and it's a brilliant save from Vicario. We've got 5 minutes remaining here, but it is Bournemouth who seemingly are in the ascendancy right now, looking for a second goal to put this game to bed. It's headed away by Maddison this time. Can Richarlison get onto the loose ball? No, he can't. Headed down to Driussi. He's got it on the edge of the box. Continues his run down the left-hand side. Checks back to Vaz. Nice play from Bournemouth here. They've just got to hold on to the ball for the last few minutes of the game here, but they are running rings around us, but Romero wins it back. Brennan Johnson now. This is our opportunity to try and counter-attack. Beautiful pass back into the path of Brennan Johnson. He's got the pace to drive into the box. He doesn't have any options. He's going to strike a goal, and he sends it wide. And much to the Bournemouth fans' delight, the referee blows the whistle for full time. Bentancur cannot believe it. We had the chances to win the game, and the Bournemouth players know it. That's why they are so delighted. It's Driussi's goal, the difference maker between the two of us today, after some woeful goalkeeping from Vicario. And at full time at the Vitality Stadium, it finishes Bournemouth 1, Spurs 0. Well, that was a really difficult one to take, as it was a winnable game, but we threw it away, and it's left us in 5th place in the league. Vicario will be mightily disappointed after a fantastic start to life in a Tottenham shirt. There can be no doubt that he was to blame for that goal, and it was the one and only goal that separated the two teams. And Vlahovic will be another one to be incredibly disappointed on his debut. He hit the post and he had plenty of opportunities to score, but he just couldn't take them. And as for Brennan Johnson, a man who said he was disappointed to be left out of the starting 11, can have absolutely no complaints after a woeful finish in the dying seconds of the game that could have rescued a point for us. I made a point in pre-season to say that he is a work in progress, and perhaps, unfortunately for us, I was proved correct. However, in other news, in episode 1 we did discuss the vast array of talent that we currently have coming through our youth academy, and I asked your help and expertise to decide where on earth I should send my 3 key scouts to try and uncover the latest gems across the globe. Now, first and foremost, as we do have an English scout, I think it makes the most sense to start our search in England, and with FC24 allowing us to scout for specific positions this year, it seems like there is no better place to try and look for his long-term replacement. Now, with the club having some fantastic South American talent, the likes of Richarlison, Bentancur, and vice-captain in real life Christian Romero, it seems like South America and Argentina in particular makes sense to be the next place to send my next scout. And finally, with the board also wanting me to sign a youth goalkeeper, and knowing full well that our current number 1 comes from a country that has a rich history of producing fantastic goalkeeping and defensive talent, it seems like a no-brainer to send our final scout all the way to Italy to try and uncover the next best goalkeeper. And so, with all 3 of my scouts set up to try and scour the globe for the best local talent, we're going to find out next episode what kind of players they come back with and what kind of players we can add to our ever-growing list of fantastic talents in our youth academy. Now, one thing I realised I didn't actually do in the first episode was look at the brand new training plan feature that FC24 offers us. Now, at the moment, pretty much everyone in my starting 11, perhaps with the exception of Vlahovic up front, have pretty decent sharpness, so I think it makes sense to keep all of them on a balanced training plan for now. However, with fewer games for the club to play this season due to our lack of European campaign, it looks obvious that on the bench and in reserve, pretty much all of our players have got absolutely no sharpness whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the training plan to focus on all-out performance to try and raise their sharpness, potentially at the cost of their fitness, and I'm going to apply that for all of my subs and my reserves as well. And whilst it might be a bit of a dangerous decision to prioritise sharpness at the cost of fitness, bearing in mind that we aren't going to have that many games to play this season, I think it's something that we can take a risk on, and obviously, depending on how it goes, we can always make some changes as the season progresses. And in other news, just as the transfer window looks like it's getting ready to slam shut, we get an offer from Aston Villa to take our young Argentinian Scarlet Alejo Vélez on loan for 1 year. And bearing in mind that still gives him the opportunity to continue his development in the Premier League, it's an offer I'm more than happy to accept, and it sees the young man depart the club this season. And so, with the squad finally confirmed and settled in for the new season, and the team now finding themselves in 6th place in the Premier League having played just 3 games, we head to Turf Moor against Burnley for our very next game. And it's a game that for whatever reason sees our team completely and utterly fall apart. A 3-0 loss away from home, and that is a real embarrassment. And after making some changes heading into our very next game against Sheffield United, bringing back Richarlison and the likes of Solomon and Højbjerg into our starting 11, we fortunately get back to winning ways, courtesy of goals from Pedro Porro and the returning Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, as we beat Sheffield United 2-0 at home. And with the critics raving about Richarlison on his return to the starting 11, and that win taking us back up into 5th place, still competing for the Champions League spots, it is time to batten down the hatchets as the Emirates Stadium is about to welcome Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for the very first North London derby under new management. The crowd is absolutely electric. The players can feel the atmosphere in the stands. It is time for the biggest game so far of our season. It's Tottenham versus Arsenal. And you'll see there are 2 major talking points in my starting 11, the first of which is Højbjerg retaining his place in central midfield ahead of Basuma, and Richarlison starts up front ahead of Vlahovic due to a series of supposed fantastic performances. Arsenal bursting forward here with Gabby Jesus. Lovely challenge from Romero. Both teams pressing high here in the opening 15 minutes. Richarlison going to try and look out wide. Doesn't have any options, so he's just going to continue with the ball down the right-hand side himself. He continues going flying past the Arsenal defenders into the box where I'm looking for him, but instead it was Maddison who couldn't get his head on it, and Arsenal clear. Into Romero. Romero goes out to Udogie on the left-hand side. Nice ball into Maddison. Beautiful play into Heung-min Son. Into Richarlison. Kulusevski. Brilliant save. Into Fabio Vieira. Nice ball back to Saka. He's got an overlapping run of the right back as Jurrien Timber to bring it forward. He's being chased down by Udogie. Great stuff as Saka continues his run, but it does manage to get past the Italian left-back, but Romero is one step ahead of him and manages to get the ball clear. Kulusevski fires a ball over to Heung-min Son on the left-hand side. Nicely done. Son into Maddison. Maddison into Richarlison. It's a brilliant wide ball. Richarlison into the box. Richarlison to strike. Oh my word, he has got it all wrong. Well, that was a huge opportunity for the Brazilian to fully stake his claim in the starting 11, score his first goal in a North London derby, and I cannot believe he's missed that one. Into Fabio Vieira. Vieira unmarked brings the ball forward, but Højbjerg in place of Basuma with a brilliant challenge, and Kulusevski now can release Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son to continue his run. He's been chased down by the defender, drives into the box, looking for the cut back into Richarlison. It was well intercepted by the Arsenal defence. Oh, nice pass into Gabby Jesus, and he's unmarked here. Romero desperately, frantically trying to chase back. Oh, that is brilliant defending from the Argentinian. Jesus for Arsenal at the start of the second half. Martinelli tried to go past Pedro Porro. A fiery challenge from the Portuguese man there, but doesn't win the ball back. Vieira now has it in a great pit of space. Tries to just do the shimmy past Højbjerg, but he read it really well. Back into Acuna, who strikes. It's a tame one in the end that Vicario makes look easy. Jorginho for Arsenal to bring the ball forward. Bentancur tried to put a challenge in, wasn't strong enough. Martinelli strikes. And this time Vicario can just beat that one away for an Arsenal corner. Well, after a difficult display from the Brazilian Richarlison, he's had his time, and his time is up. Vlahovic and Brian Hill will come on as we desperately try and search for a winner. Odegaard with the corner, goes short to Acuna. Nice footwork trying to get past Maddison, and he does just that. Lays it off to the edge of the box to Martinelli. Arsenal with a really good opportunity here. They're weaving, they're turning. It's blocked. It's another Arsenal corner, and this time it looks like they're going to go short. They tease the short corner, but they throw it in. Udogie with a great header away, only as far as Saka though. Oh, brilliant play to get past Maddison. Tries to go past Van der Ven. It's checked back into Martinelli. He keeps the ball into Declan Rice. Back to Jesus. Jesus strikes. Udogie with another big challenge. Saka on the edge of the box. Arsenal desperately looking for this winner here. And all of a sudden, they make a real meal of that one. And it's cleared away. But Arsenal have got a free kick here in a dangerous position that Odegaard's going to take. Odegaard fires it in. It's off the bar. Is it headed away by Romero? Yes, it is. Bentancur with a diving header to get it clear. Arsenal are all over us as Vlahovic on as a sub manages to get the ball clear. Havertz for Arsenal. This game is becoming stretched now. End to end as Mickey van der Ven comes across to make the challenge. Really nicely done. Pedro Porro skips away from another challenge. Heung-min Son now tries to bring it forward. It's Acuna who challenges well. Arsenal are pressing forward here. Declan Rice with another turn to get away from my defenders. Pedro Porro into the box goes Arsenal. Havertz with the strike, and it's past Vicario, and it's Arsenal 1, Tottenham 0. We'll look at the celebrations. Havertz runs over to Mikel Arteta. It's his first goal in a North London derby, and it was just a flick over Pedro Porro that left my defence for dead. And Vicario, he's got to be doing better there. I am furious yet again. Arsenal lead 1-0. Pedro Porro down the line into Bentancur, who finds himself on the right-hand side, and he's just desperately trying to bring the ball forward here. Nice cut back into the path of Heung-min Son. Son to try and strike. It's well defended by the defenders, Bentancur to fling it back in again, looking for the head of Vlahovic, who is still looking for his first goal in a Tottenham shirt. Declan Rice for Arsenal finds himself going down the left-hand side, and he's trying to be chased down here by Bentancur, but he does a brilliant job of cutting it back into Acuna. Into the goalscorer Havertz. Saka to strike. Saka to put Arsenal 2-0 up here in injury time. And look at the celebrations. They know that means it is 3 points on the board, and it is bragging rights here in North London. Tired legs just outdone by fresher Arsenal players, and Saka on the edge of the box with a fine strike. Could Vicario have done more? Perhaps we will see. No, surely not. It was just a brilliant strike from the young Arsenal man. 2-0. And that is that. The referee puts us out of our misery. It's heartbreak here at the Emirates. It's another poor performance, but it's another brilliant performance by Bukayo Saka. He leads the celebrations here for Arsenal. As at full time, it finishes Arsenal 2, Spurs 0. Well, it's a difficult one to take, and it's a difficult one to face up to in front of the media, but I have to do it. And with the journalist expecting an answer as to what on earth happened today, I've just got to say I do trust my players. We will make amends, and trust me, we will put things right before the end of the season. Well, you would think the lack of European football and the lack of games would really help us here, but frustratingly we now find ourselves in 11th place in the Premier League table, but with just 6 games played, it is incredibly tight. Unfortunately for us, we are just 2 points away from the Champions League spots. I put my faith in Vicario at the start of the episode, and after a bright start to life in Tottenham colours, it's been an awful showing so far this episode. He's dropped 2 absolute clangers, and his overall rating in the Premier League is now down to 5.95. But at only 26 years of age, and with him tasting Premier League football for the first time in his career, I've just got to hope he's got enough mental fortitude to get himself back on track. Now, it's a bit of an odd one to be honest, because whilst all the sharpness of every single one of my substitutes has gone through the roof, and seemingly the fitness is actually at a pretty decent level, all of them seemed absolutely knackered when they came onto the pitch, which kind of makes me think I may have messed up this training plan. So I think I'm going to take a little bit of a step back, keep the training and performance focus to try and maintain the sharpness, but decrease the intensity a little bit so they've still got that freshness when they come on the pitch. Now, having not won a trophy in over 15 years, I've got to say I actually think the Carabao Cup might be a wonderful opportunity for us to do so this season. But with us going from one London derby straight into another one against West Ham, against a team that are going to be pretty comfortable using a low block and defending in numbers and trying to counter-attack us, I think we've got a seriously tough game ahead of us as we welcome West Ham to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for what is going to be an almighty third round clash in the Carabao Cup. As you can see from my starting 11, this is a wonderful opportunity to give some of my fringe players starts. The likes of Ryan Sessegnon, Dyer, Tapsoba and Emerson Royale all making their first starting appearances for the club this season. Basuma, Skip and Lo Celso all start in central midfield, with the likes of Solomon, Brian Hill and Vlahovic leading the line up front. Lo Celso picking up the ball in between the lines of defensive midfield. Basuma will fire a ball over to the right hand side to Emerson Royale. He's picked up a really nice area of space. Brian Hill turns onto his left, shimmies around the defenders, finds Oliver Skip, who tried to fire it into the back of the net, but only managed to fire it in straight into the defenders. Sessegnon into Basuma, into Oliver Skip again, into Emerson Royale. This has been a really positive start from us so far. It's a brilliant ball in, looking for Vlahovic. He got his head on it, but got it all wrong. Lo Celso will pick it up though. Brian Hill tries to turn onto his right, got it all wrong himself, and West Ham can get it clear again. Paquetá into Martial, who now seemingly is plying his trade for West Ham. Finds a ball out wide to Fornals on the left-hand side, being tracked back by Emerson Royale. Really nice stuff. Basuma tries to win it in midfield. Not strong enough. Skip is though, and now Vlahovic can try and get it clear. He's got an option on the left-hand side to Solomon. Solomon can use his pace to try and drive into the box, but instead gets it all wrong. Doesn't get it all wrong. Manages to keep hold of the ball. Whips a good ball in. It's headed away again by the West Ham defenders. They are defending very well. Lo Celso gives it away, and it's another big opportunity missed. Solomon into Brian Hill, taking that really nicely, and he's got the on-rushing Emerson Royale into Vlahovic. Vlahovic back over to Emerson Royale, trying to look for an option here. Finds Brian Hill, shifts it onto his left. Going to go for an audacious shot. It was too far out. Can we get to the loose ball? Vlahovic is going to head this down. Brian Hill's going to try and line up a strike again, and again it is blocked by the West Ham defenders, who are really in a low block today. They're going to try and counter-attack us though, and Martial now has a great pocket of space to run into. He manages to get past Eric Dyer. He continues his run into the box. It's Tapsoba on his debut. Can't do enough to get the ball back from him, and Vicario makes amends. Tapsoba looks for an unmarked Emerson Royale on the right-hand side. Finds Brian Hill. Hill into Vlahovic. Vlahovic back to Brian Hill. Brian Hill back to Vlahovic. Vlahovic is blocked again by the West Ham defenders. Ryan Sessegnon cuts it back into Lo Celso. Really nicely done. He cuts it back into Solomon. Tries to shift it onto his right. Instead finds Brian Hill. He's going to go out wide to Emerson Royale. He's got time and space to pick his pass. Doesn't pick his pass well enough. And it's across to absolutely no one. Tapsoba. Ryan Sessegnon. Early pressure here inside the start of the second half. Oliver Skip back out wide to Sessegnon. Fires a decent ball across. Can't get it on the end of it though. We do manage to win it back with Oliver Skip. Tries to just muscle his way and weave his way into the box. Instead he's held up, but he has managed to get across, and it's an awful cross, and it's another big opportunity wasted. Tapsoba to bring the ball forward in acres of space here. There are no midfielders for West Ham whatsoever, and Solomon picks it up. Solomon drives into the box. Solomon across to Oliver Skip, and Oliver Skip says thank you very much. Well, what on earth were the West Ham midfield doing? You could drive a bus through that midfield, and no one would even notice. It was too easy for Tapsoba, and Solomon was able just to drive into the box, and Oliver Skip arrived late inside the 6-yard box, and he was able to tap it into an empty net to give us a much needed 1-0 lead. Into Lo Celso. We've got our tails up now as we try and look for a second goal to put daylight between the two teams, as Solomon does really nicely, plays it into Vlahovic, who's just straight offside. Kelra for West Ham, into Martial, who's dropped deep, trying to get into the game somehow, and he's released Bowen in the centre. He's being chased down by the substitute Ben Davies, but it's into Kudos. Kudos strikes from distance, and Vicario has to hammer that one away for a West Ham corner. So check. Nice ball over to Jared Bowen. That goal conceded has seemed to spark life into West Ham here. Jared Bowen down the right-hand side, blocked off by Eric Dyer. Great defending. Ben Davies into Lo Celso. Lo Celso tried to pass it on to Solomon. But it does not matter, because after a hard-fought game, we have secured a 1-0 victory that takes us through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. Oliver Skipp, the man of the moment, he was the one that got the goal to separate the two teams. As at full-time here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it finishes Spurs 1, West Ham 0. Well, it's been an up-and-down episode in North London, with the team finding themselves in 11th place in the Premier League. But with Oliver Skipp scoring his first goal of the season, it seems like the perfect way to end episode 2. We've got a shed load of games to get through in the next episode that will take us all the way through to the January transfer window, so let me know down in the comments below. With just £17 million to spend, are there any of these players that you think are not living up to their potential and don't deserve to be at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club anymore that we can sell and try and raise some transfer funds? And then what other players would you like to see ply their trade in a Tottenham Hotspur shirt? That is it for today's episode. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next time.